It was a conference last year in Scotland, so some people from Scotland are here. They met us when we were there, and it's now become a community and is starting new projects. And Sue Lennox began many years ago Oz Green, and has helped train about 1,000, is it, youth, something like that?
25,000 youth have been involved in Youth Leading the World. We've trained 1,050 facilitators around the world to run it in their own communities.
Wonderful, wonderful. So these are the two women who have brought us together with their projects. And then I would also like to introduce briefly the leaders of each of the Indigenous communities who we met at CCC. Visulela Namasis from Namibia, and Edmond Kupusoa from Sierra Leone, Usman Alipam from the Sahel region. There's Senegal and Mauritania. People are both here. Hey, hello, hello. And we're expecting perhaps, was it Haru or Haida Kuntanawa from Amazon, maybe joining us in a little while.
I'm not sure if they're going to be able to join, but I'm here to represent them.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. And Joy Foley and Auntie Kali of Peace Valley Bush Retreat in Australia, and Wajun Jugan, Mother Nature's Daughters, and the youth that are joining. So thank you all for bringing the youth from your regions here together to start the new wave of regeneration and collaborating. Let's begin briefly. I'm going to light a candle. And perhaps we can each remember the light of our own hearts and come together here in our circle. We could imagine the light that we're all gathering around. Thank you. Thank you, Visulela. And a little bell to remind us of the one who brings us all together. So let's land together. Let's appreciate the land we're each standing on. So many places all over the globe, and each in one spot, in one body, a member of Mother Earth. We're family in this way. Appreciating our feet on the earth right now, the generations of love that have brought each of us here to be born and to be carried to where we are right now, each of us. Let's feel our feet fed and supported unconditionally by Mother Earth. Held in her embrace, noticing, it's up to us to notice her unconditional, always loving and nourishing and supporting us. And it's up to us to reciprocate and to care for her. In this land, each of us finds ourselves, and in the land of our own bodies and the skin of her members. So with deep gratitude, I'm even going to stand. You can do this sitting, we can do this standing, whichever you're comfortable. Feeling my feet on the ground and my hands to my heart. I invite you all to join me, feeling the rootedness in our earth and also honoring with our hands and hearts in the circle of care as we stretch up the roots down to earth and the roots up to the heavens. All the ones who come to nourish us and be with us. Stretching up, we're rooted and we're reaching and connected And we are waving. Thank you for bringing us here together. And I bring my hands back to my heart, and I'm going to reach up the other way, down and up, reaching. Thank you and waving. Thank you all for bringing us together into the circle of care. Let's dare to stand as tall as the trees will plant and the mountains that surround us, beside the waters that nourish us, and embody a regenerative way of life. Breathing in the air, the trees share with us the one breath, the source, the spirit that brings us together. It fires us up with enthusiasm. In living ways we can engage. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Receiving this gift of life with deep gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Feeling the balance of all the elements and all the relatives in the human world and in our natural world. Our body's part of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in this global circle, we will begin with a welcome and a little introduction to the context, how we got here, from Stephanie Mines, who got the ball rolling with a lot of help.
Thank you, Michelle. And I feel very full in this moment. Enormous gratitude to be here with all of you. And I want to tell you that climate change and consciousness, the seed vision that brought us to this moment, came to me as instruction. And I want to speak to the power of following your heart, of following your inner guidance, and trusting that with every cell of your being. I want to share with you that the specifics, the principles of climate change and consciousness were given to me. I cannot claim authorship of them. They were given to me in clear messaging that I received within my body. And unbeknownst to me, I was bonded with that messaging. It is a choiceless commitment that I make with my body. And I am not capable of abandoning this vision and this mission, no matter where it takes me. And this moment of being here with you, all of you, seeing your faces from all over the world, in the name of youth, is a moment of pure fulfillment for me. And I want to invite all of you, no matter your age, no matter your gender, I want to invite you to identify and know your inner guidance, your truth, and bond with it faithfully. So one of the key principles of climate change and consciousness was the prioritizing and amplifying and nourishment of the voices of youth. This is a fulfillment of that mission in this moment. And when I encountered Sue Lennox, I knew she was linked to this mission. So there's a gathering of the forces internationally that manifest the embodied hope of the continuity of humanity. And from the moment I received my instructions And every single step of the way, it is dedicated to young people. It is dedicated to my children, to my grandchildren. And when I say my children and my grandchildren, I mean all of you. So I want to share with you the fulfillment I'm experiencing in this moment. This is success. We are here together. I am linking with Osgreen in the service of the youth of our world, the youth of Walking the Land, the youth of climate change and consciousness. Thank you for being here. Thank you. As Michelle said, these were the words of my mom, who's 99 years old and who is rebounding in this moment. She had a bit of a setback for the first time in her life. First time my 99-year-old mom had a bit of a setback. And her words to me are exactly what Michelle just said in exactly the same number of iterations. My mom said, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Stephanie, one thing we might want to do right in this moment is to invite people. At the end of this call, we're creating a collage of voices who feel authentically aligned and ready to say, I am a voice for our living earth. And we would love to take your video one after another, speaking into the microphone and into the frame of the camera, so that we can create a beautiful collage of the diversity that have gathered here. So this will happen at the end of the call, and just for those who would love, we would love for you to participate, and more to come on that front. And back to you, I think Michelle, to bring Sue in, and Ruby.
Yes, well, Sue and Ruby, you're on. You're here to help us, well, get to know each other a little bit with the speed dating method you were speaking of. And then tell us about your programs.
I have to echo what Stephanie is saying. I'm so excited to be with you all this morning, and receive the love and blessings that are showering in your direction from this beautiful Gumbaynggirr country that I am joining you from. And I would like to begin by just expressing my deep love and respect for the land, for the elders that have come before us, that are with us now, and those that are yet to be born. And what a blessing it is to be here with you. We wanted to begin by hearing about each other, and because I want to learn about you before we dive into what Youth Leading the World is about. And perhaps what I would like is to take a moment for you to remember and to think, what's the most important thing to say? Because we need to do this speed dating thing where, we're going to have 30 seconds to go, hi, my name is, and I'm in the country that you're in, where you are. And then we want you to talk about two things. One is, what is it that you're most, that you think is the most important thing that you've been doing to care for the earth? And what is it that you're most concerned about for the earth? So me to say those things again, because everyone needs to have it beforehand. So your name and where you are. What is it that you see as the most important thing you have been doing for the earth? And what is it that you are most concerned about for our earth? And if I begin and say, it's Sue and I'm on Gumbaynggirr country here in Bellingen, Australia, And I definitely know that the most important work I'm doing is the work that I'm doing with young people all around the world. But more importantly, probably giving people the skills to be able to engage young people and enable young people to find their voice and become active participants in the change process. And I have to say, climate change is right up the top of my deep concerns. Now, Michelle, do you want to just go around, because you know people, do you want to say their names?
Sure. I wasn't sure if we'd be passing a talking stick or it's from jumping from square to square. Okay, and some people I am still not sure about using last name or first name. So let's
Maybe
begin.
Ruby can go first, just to introduce herself too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, where is Ruby?
Hi,
Yeah.
everyone. So my name is Ruby. I'm from the same area as Sue, and at the moment I'm living in Sydney. So I suppose the most important action I'm taking is in my thinking, I suppose. I know that sounds, I think that we're all doing that, but it's the constant consciousness that there are issues and challenges that we all face collectively. And I think that continually thinking about that and having that at the forefront of every decision that that I make probably is one of the most important things. And my biggest concern at the moment is, it's actually homelessness in Sydney, actually, is my concern this week anyway. Yeah, so also I wanted to let everyone know that another Youth Leading the World facilitator, a young person named Stella, she is hopping on any minute, so she will introduce herself as well, and her and I can answer any questions you have about the program, because we've both been through it as well.
And Anushka has just joined us from Hawaii. Hello. Would you like to introduce yourself? Another Youth Leading the World facilitator.
Sure. Hi, my name is Anushka Aloha. I live in Hawaii. I would say I'm a recent, joiner to the Youth Leading the World movement. I'm a biologist by training and educator, so I think my most important things I'm doing is to try to empower youth to become better stewards to their places. And I think my biggest concern is just a general disconnect of people to place or the environment or
Michelle, back to you.
Okay. How about, well, we've got several folks with Auntie Kali that, why doesn't she help us introduce them by name? And what,
Good morning.
good morning.
Good morning.
Special good morning to Tanya, Sister Bay, Tall White Lady, and Huey. Good morning, you guys. And Sister Joy of Peace Valley. So we're here in Kyogle, New South Wales, Australia. And this is Gullible Gizable Country. And these two here are Gamilaroi, and this one here, our son Ben, he's Galabel. So I think we'll start with Alice, because Alice thought up a few words last night about how to introduce herself. Yeah. We wrote it down in a little book, and we started a little book. So Alice is going to go first. And Alice has Zoomed before, but the rest of us haven't. So this is a new experience. Here we go. We've got our stickers.
My name is Alice Close. My mum is Lynn Close. My dad is Stephen Nelson. I am 9 years old. I am very tall and I live in Wollongong. I go to Wollongong Central School.
Now, what's the most important about the climate for you, Alice? Is it the animals and the koalas?
Yeah, the animals and koalas.
So the koalas here on our country are called Buddha-bees. And Alice and me go out checking for Buddha-bees all the time. And we sing a song. Buddha-bee, Buddha-bee, where are you? Sitting in the tree, looking at you. And then we hope that we find one. Sometimes we do. Ben, would you like to go next?
I'm fine. I'm good.
So what year are you in at school?
11.
Ben's in year 11 at school. And he's a bit of a gamer.
Oh, please.
But has been excited about the opportunities that would come about with the program. And last but not least is my little warrior, Amos Close.
Hello.
Okay, so introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Amos Close.
How old are you?
I'm 7.
And which school do you go to?
I'm Wollongong Central School.
And what's most important about the land? The Gizabal country and
turtles.
And turtles.
Ooh.
Worried about turtles. That there'll be no more water and that we have no more turtles. And here, what's the name of turtle in Gizabal? Binky. Binky is the name of turtle. And the one for goanna is Namal. Namal. So this is the one Amos is very interested in. This is part of our new book here on Gizabal country. So we have to make sure that the turtle's got somewhere to swim and that the koala, the Buddha-bee's got a tree to climb. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go on to Mamadou Babakar. Can you unmute and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello.
Chairman?
Yeah, I am Mamadou Babakar Diop. I am from Gadeshanche in the Sahel region. So I am one of the young people who care about the future of the planet. And we are also aware of the climate change and the effect it can do. You see, so this is the reason why we are in Gede, in the rural area, working with Usman and Rades also. So we are doing many things here. We are planting a lot of trees. And at the same time also we are taking care of the permacultures. Permaculture in the, for the community. So why permaculture is very important, I mean, for the protection of the environment, because when we create permaculture, people will have autonomous. I mean, they will have everything they need from the permaculture. They don't need to go to the forest to cut wood and sell them. See, they can also grow their organic food in their permacultures. And in the permaculture also, they can also plant a lot of trees and then replant them later in the forest. This will help people to bring the forest back and bring also all the animals back. So we we are really aware of the climate change, and we know that it's up to us as young people. It's up to us really to stop this climate change by taking care of people, taking care of the environment, and taking care of the planet. Yeah. So when we are ready really to face this climate change, and to support our Mother Earth also.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Well spoken. I began to get into permaculture. I am in Louisville, Kentucky in the United States, and I will try to be brief in 30 seconds and see if I can do this. I began learning some permaculture principles and planted trees, nut trees, fruit trees, apples, several apples, figs, pawpaws, and hazelnut hedge in my yard, and peach trees. This is about 8 years ago. I have hundreds of peaches I just picked and have eaten this last month from 2 trees that I planted. And the birds and squirrels are very happy with all the fruit also. And now I am most concerned about people's disconnection from the earth, and am, by gardening and by practicing sustainable health practices of self-care and energetic hands-on help with trauma, I am practicing sort of a permaculture of healthcare, just to relate it in that way. So, and I learned it from Stephanie.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And I will move on to Rahina in Aotearoa.
Hi, I'm Rahina, and I live in the North Island of New Zealand in Taranaki. And what I've done for the earth and trying to protect it is trying to keep all the endangered animals in Aotearoa, trying to get their population up and up, because it's been going really low with predators around pests, trying to help with that. And what I am most worried about for the earth is the insane amount of plastic going through all the waterways and killing all our sea life.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to Alpha Kargbo.
Wow, thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody that has made it possible to be part of this meeting. I'm from Sierra Leone. I'm Alpha Mohammed Kado, and I want to appreciate everybody in the meeting. I want to appreciate those that that brought the idea of the climate change consciousness. And for us in Sierra Leone here, I want to say we really need it, right? And we have a lot and lot of damages in which this particular climate change is causing. So like, I appreciate the donors, I appreciate everybody that has contributed to see that this particular organization moves forward. And as a youth who has been dreaming, and my dream always is to move us the youth forward. And I think this organization, that is one of the aims of the organization. And I want to say I'm very much happy for being part of this organization. And I want to appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpha. And let's see, how about Nasindano in Namibia?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So yes, it's Nesindano Namises, or Nami Quest. Quest is a stage name. I have a bunch of different names, and I work as an artist. I'm from Namibia. Currently, I am speaking to you from the village of my great grandmother and my paternal grandparents in Othika, which is in the northern parts of Namibia, very close to the border of Angola. And most important thing I think I've done for the earth, I think it's also a continued one, is that there's this gained or I think a deliberate acknowledgement of the earth and all of the small things that make it or create the cycles that make it, including ourselves. And I think continuing to do that is very important for me, because it kind of plays out in organically, you know, loving and supporting where you can with the earth, because it's just so much to love. So once you acknowledge it, I think that's a good way to go. What am I most concerned about? I was going to say, you know, like, you know, the direction in which the youth is going, because in Namibia, it's quite, there's still a lot of picking up that needs to be done. You know, it's great to see 11, 7-year-olds here and to be that present. Not that we don't have any, but that was going to be my initial worry. But I think my concern is about the level of trauma we continue to cause as human beings who don't find ourselves as part of the earth. And I would love to continue to start to work, pick up working as an artist or using art to move and create social change. So, yeah.
Thank you, Nesandano. Wonderful. Art for social change. Yay, that can go so many directions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry, if I may, I just wanted to add also, it's a very great way to kind of interact with the youth, because it's such a great space to find them expressing themselves. And so I'm very passionate about us. Yeah.
Great. How about Stella Reese?
Hi, my name's Stella. I'm part of Osgreen. I'm a facilitator. I'm really excited for the future of this project, whatever comes of it. Yeah, I'm really excited for a First Nations Youth Leading the World, to see where that goes. I am just happy to have this group here. Yeah, I have to go now. Sorry, I have work, but
oh
yeah.
thank you for popping in. We could meet you. Thank you. Amara Fofana, are you able to unmute? Let's see. I'm going to different pages here.
I just asked her to unmute, I think. So.
I don't seem to be able to go to the other page for some reason. I just see this one page. Let's see.
Well, while we're sorting here, maybe Vissy could speak and introduce her beautiful self to this community. If you could unmute Vissy.
Hello, everybody.
Vissy, Amara is talking also. Let's see.
Now,
we're not hearing you very well. We're not hearing you very well.
I'm also speaking from Namibia. Stephanie, for opening. Okay, have it.
We lost you, Vissy. Could you? There we go.
Oh, is it me? Hello, can you hear me?
Now we can hear better. It was
okay.
very low.
Yeah, I'm working in Namibia. I wanted to just say my gratitude to Michelle and Stephanie, and greetings from Namibia, which is I'm sitting in a restricted area at the moment under curfew. So I'm working with women and children, and the last 4 years, through the seed of Jen, I have managed to start with food security in Namibia. And we have gardens out of which we were able to feed communities that was locked down under COVID. So we gave food to about 250 communities from our one garden. And that is something that Mother Earth has contributed during this strenuous time of COVID. What am I working towards? I am working towards just bringing a small action to some of the young people to feel Mother Earth. Stephanie we are saying walking the land. So I am asking young people to just walk on Mother Earth very consciously. That is maybe the next thing that I am concerned about can be eradicated. What I am concerned about at the moment with Mother Earth is all over our country with rubbish, plastic, anything, and we don't have the feel to pick it up. And she looks very disfigured when I look at her. And so I want the youth to walk Mother Earth and enable themselves to just pick up in each town, each quarter camp, each street, those rubbish to clean Mother Earth and make her face beautiful. That's what I'm looking at.
Thank you so much, Miss Leila. Thank you. Let's see, can we try Amara Fofana again? Is this possible? Jennifer, I hear typing from you and I don't see you on this page. I can't see everyone at once.
Yeah, no, I'm muting. Who did you call?
Amara Fofana, was she able?
I've been looking.
If she's not able, then let's go on to Anushka Fauci. Let's see.
I think I already went. So somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, you pretty much introduced yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Conla Barton.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm here in Palm Springs, California, and my former background is dental hygienist. I lead land and water exercise now, and I'm a spiritual counselor. What I've been doing is, recycling, speaking to people. I've been in Haiti, helped with organizations with reforestation, health and well-being. So for me, the forest fires, I know in Australia as well, we've got quite a few going on right now, and it's just devastating, especially since Trees for Life has been, what calls me, and reforestation and learning from the forest about appreciating diversity. We need it to really make our world thrive. So I just finished the Game Changer Intensive with Pachamama organization. So I've been involved for a long time. I'm still open to learning. There's a few different groups to see about being involved. And one thing is that I found out there's a sustainability council committee with our city council, and to connect with them and see about what the youth, it's because it's small enough, it's still large, it's local but global here in Palm Springs, to see what further alliances and collaborations to be involved with, but especially that the youth, if we don't have the youth, then we don't have a world that will be passed on, and to make it better than what it is, has been. So I'm really happy to be here. Very, very excited and astonished, I guess maybe, but enamored on what work has been done and who all is participating. Encouraging.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And let's see, Gerald.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Gerald from Sydney, Australia, and I'm just taking up the questions again, because it feels like my answers changing as I hear from everyone. What is it I see as the most important thing I'm doing for the earth? I can hear something else. I don't know if anyone else hears that too. Well, the most important thing I'm doing for the earth, when I check that inside, I would say it's being alive. And not just in the sense of physical aliveness. Ooh, I just like crying now because I can feel it. It's being alive on the inside and recognizing that there is an inner world that I have and I belong to. And that there's also an outer world that I also belong to. And maybe sometimes they're not so different or not so separate. And also, the most important thing I'm doing is, I guess, hearing the songs of my heart and letting them come through me to the world. And I think what's more important is letting the world sing them with me.
Thank you so much, Gerald. Thank you so much. My heart feels like it's singing with you already. Let's see, that we have Usman and your son. What is your son's name?
His name is Adama, and he's almost 5 years now. I'm Usman from Senegal and in West Africa. And I am originally from the very north of Senegal, in almost close to the desert now. But I mean, about 60 years ago, we used to have lions and crocodiles and all sorts of colorful birds in that area. There were big forests, so one could travel from one village to the other without seeing the sun. And today, it's a completely different story. I mean, no trees, it's hot, and you can see almost all the villages, and we are overwhelmed by sandstorms. And now what we're doing in...
Uh-oh, a little frozen image and sound. Usman, your image froze, and we don't hear you now. See if you could turn off your video, and maybe we'll hear you again.
region is to bring villages together, 100 villages different.
We're not hearing you, Usman. Oh,
I think sometimes if everyone shuts their video just for a little bit, it reduces.
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it may, yeah. Yeah, the big concern in our region here is land grabbing from multinationals and also countries like China, European countries coming here, taking the land of farmers. And this is becoming a very serious issue at the moment. And also industries, just over extracting, minerals in different places. And this is a real concern. So I'll be very brief and stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then you're bringing 100 eco-villages together. Is that, you started to say that and the sound was in and out. Yes, very inspiring. Very inspiring.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
And Jamie Shadid here speaking for herself and the work she's done, as well as the Kuntanawas.
Thank you. I am Jamie. Thank you, Michelle. I think to sum up what I feel like my biggest contribution is right now, it's connecting. I'm finishing up a certification to be a nature and forest therapy guide, which was an invitation that came to me actually through my work with the Kuntanawas. And I participated in the first bilingual training program last year in Puerto Rico. And it's really about bringing people back to the land and helping people to remember a sense of awe and beauty and sense of that innate connectedness that we have with the land. And that connection also has translated into what I've been doing with the Kuntanawas, who are an indigenous nation in Amazonia in Brazil, very close to the border with Peru. We invited them. I was working with Stephanie when she received all of this guidance she was speaking to earlier, and it just kind of became my life also. It was beautiful. And my guidance and one of my contributions to the conference was inviting the Kuntanawas without really having any idea why I was doing that. I just felt really guided to do that. And a lot of people from the CCC community have helped them enormously. And it's been a really beautiful collaboration. And what worries me the most right now, what's really feeling alive for me, is the air that we're breathing. I'm in Boulder, Colorado right now. There are fires going on, I don't know where, somewhere in the mountains near here. And it's really smoky. And yesterday the sun was red. And immediately I'm thinking to these pictures that the Kuntanawas, that Haru and Haida are sending us, of the same color of sun. It's bright red. The fires in the Amazon are worse than they were last year. It's kind of coming up in the news, but not as much as last year. It's not getting the media attention that it did last year, but it's really bad. And so we're doing all of trying to get some help for them. And a lot of it's also about reconnecting to the land and bringing that sense of connection, which lends to wanting to protect the land and the trees that are there. And it's about reforestation. Absolutely, the land needs to be reforested there. But even more important, it's protecting these trees that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, that hold so much and that release so much oxygen. And the people there can't breathe. They're sending messages like, we can't breathe here. So it's really heartbreaking. But it's also motivating.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your work there. We've all we've taken up a lot more than 30 seconds each. So I wonder if there are any youth left. I cannot see everyone. Are there any youth who would like to speak yet, who have not? Who? Just come on. Raise your hand or show up.
Aminata Jha. I think Aminata was around, yeah. Maybe she can talk. Aminata? Okay, looks like she's off.
Okay. How about Simone Souza? Is she still with us? I cannot see everyone. I only see a few boxes. So.
Yeah, from Sierra Leone.
Who's this?
Edmond.
Edmond, hello.
Yeah, hello. This is Edmond Usoa from Sierra Leone, West Africa. In the first place, I'm grateful to Sifane Mais, Usman Pine, with whom we are in Scotland on climate change and consciousness workshop. From there, we are part of Walking the Land Africa. I'm so grateful. And also Michelle, who has been so instrumental in supporting Future in Her Hands in Sierra Leone to promote regenerative agriculture. Yeah, one of the main themes of Future in Her Hands in Sierra Leone is that soil is the best solution to climate change, whatever we may do. So what we are doing in Sierra Leone is promoting regenerative agriculture, wherein we are actually relying to the natural forces within the soil to replenish any lost nutrients rather than using chemical fertilizers. And we are trying to promote women farmers, because here men are dominated in farming, but 85% of the work is being done by women, but they are not really realizing. So we are trying to promote women farmers.
Great.
And one of our main system of farming is the slash and burn. This is actually causing a lots of hazards and promoting climate change. But we are trying to introduce regenerative agriculture, that is conservation agriculture, wherein farmers can move, but it's yet very difficult. So, and youths are the dominance of our farming system. So what I'm doing in Sierra Leone is that we are bringing youths on board into the family of climate change, so that we see not only the adults, but the youth who are domain of our family system, so they can play much more role as active people in climate change. So I'm very grateful to be part of this family, and my youth are so enthusiastic, although many are facing challenges to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmund. Thank you. I know connectivity, it can be an issue.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was glad to connect through WhatsApp. my first foray into WhatsApping. So, and I guess I'm not seeing, are there any other youth who need to come forward, or anyone who would like to contribute? It may be time to pass things on to Sue and Ruby otherwise. Joy, Joy is not spoken. You want to leave it with what Kali said, or?
I could just add a little bit. So I'm Joy, I'm at Peace Valley. I'm one of Walking the Land leaders, and Auntie Carly, who spoke right at the beginning, that's beautiful. She starts and I'm finishing. We're kind of working together, and we've created the Wajin Jugan thing, which is also something led through spirit, came from one of the other elder women in our place, this special name. So this is Githable Gullible land that I'm on as well, a couple of hours drive from Auntie Carly. So that's probably enough.
Okay.
We've got Thank you.
Good, thanks. Thanks. Good to see you. So I guess we'll pass it on to Sue and Ruby to
Hi, Joy.
Hi. Fly kiss.
What
Well, thank you so
is
much.
youth leading the world?
Thank you so much, Michelle. And it has just been the most amazing thing to be able to
Lane also.
meet you. And yes, it's challenging because it's so important to hear each other's stories, and at the same time, we have limited time, and so yes, speed dating. All right, dear ones, what I would like to do is I'm going to just put up a brief presentation because I would like to tell you the story of how Osgreen began, but also what's happening with Youth Leading the World and what we're proposing to do. So just give me a moment to share screen, and that should work. There we go. Okay, have we got that all right?
Yes.
So,
good.
so we're moving on now to having a look at Osgreen and Youth Leading the World in our meeting today. There are two things coming up that we would like to be doing with climate change and consciousness. The first is to be training a team of facilitators at the end of September in the Youth Leading the World process. And the second is then to run a global youth congress with a particular First Nations focus at the end of October. And out of that congress, young people will organise and run their own global community forum, which will be all about them sharing what they're doing and planning to do. So Osgreen's key values are about working for peace, inclusion and sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, we mean living in a way that there is a fair share for current generations, a fair share for future generations, that's 2 of my grandchildren, and a fair share for wildlife, for biodiversity, knowing that we are absolutely connected with the wider world, with all of life, and we rely on all of life to give us every breath of oxygen, every morsel of food, and every drop of water. So Osgreen grew out of a long journey for me that started with the peace movement in the 70s. And Auntie Carly was deeply influenced by my work as a teacher at Benalbo Central School during the 70s and 80s. And my big question was, how do we face up to the big problems in the world in a way that enables us to really know and understand what's going on and not be overwhelmed by it, but instead find a way of working together to create change. And I was working during the late 80s as a teacher in Sydney at Freshwater High School, and there was a massive pollution event in our local lagoon, and thousands of fish are lying dead on the water. And I worked with the young people in my Year 9 group at that time, so a bunch of 15-year-olds, and I said to them, how do we change our community so this will never happen again? And what I saw is that group of young people come up with some really, really good ideas. And they had a huge influence on their community. You know, they went out and interviewed 1,500 businesses in the industrial area around the school, you know, and they began water testing, they began regenerating the environment around the creek, and they also made a video. And that video got a United Nations Media Peace Prize, and the impact that the young people had was way beyond anything any of us imagined. And we realised 2 things. One is that in the process of taking action, those young people unleashed their inner leadership, and it changed their lives profoundly. And the second is we learned that young people are very powerful educators and motivators of adults. And as a result of that work, the school was made into a centre of excellence in environmental education, and people started to come and look at what we were doing. And one of the groups that came said, will you come and help us in India? And so somehow or other, we got ourselves over to the beautiful River Ganges in Varanasi in January 1992 and took with us a whole lot of water testing equipment. and for the first time actually measured what the pollution levels were in the River Ganges. And I sort of say that's a full colour photograph just to give you a sense of how terrible the pollution is in that area. And we saw children and adults going down and drinking straight from the river, and we measured what the fecal coliform bacteria load was in the river. Now those are the bacteria that live in the guts, in the intestines of warm-blooded animals. If it's in the water, it means there's poo in the water or sewage in the water. And in Australia, we say for water to be safe for drinking, there should be 0 coliform in 100 mils of water. And we were seeing levels of 50,000 to 5 million. And it just broke my heart. And I realised, with my husband Colin, that what we had started in Australia actually had a much bigger application than we could have imagined. And over the coming year, we actually decided that we would leave our work as teachers and sell our home and move our young family in with Cole's mother and set up Oz Green, working out of her garage. So that was in January, that was in 92 that we did that. And today Oz Green is working globally. Our 3 goals are that we ensure that people are informed about the challenges that we face and how we can live in harmony with each other and one planet. That young people in particular and local communities are involved in protecting the environment, understanding that local people are the best equipped to be able to lead change because they understand what is happening in their own region better than we do. And then the third thing is interconnecting us. So connecting us not only in our own communities, but across the world so that we can share our journeys and support each other. So over the last nearly 30 years now, we've worked in over 1,600 communities around the world with our programs and involved, in around 1 million people in those programs as well. But we began to ask ourselves, how do we take what we're doing and share it? And in about 2009, we started a pilot program where instead of us coming in and running a program, our focus was on training local people to run that program in their own community. And the exciting outcome of that is that we found that the impact of us training local people was the same as the impact that we were having. And so we knew that we had a much better way of working and sharing these tools that we've developed. And so Youth Leading the World was born. And Youth Leading the World has focused on training local facilitators. So we've trained over 1,000 to date and have 25,000 youth directly participating from 100 regions around the world. We've gained quite a lot of wonderful recognition for the work that we've been doing. I'm not going to go over it, but probably one of the most exciting is to be recognised as the New South Wales Senior Australian of the Year this year. And so I want to talk to you briefly about what the process is that we use, because this is the important part, and you will recognise those 3 themes of inform, involve and interconnect in this. So the starting point with Youth Leading the World is focus. Focus on measuring our ecological footprint, what is the impact that our way of living has on the earth. Pulse of the planet, what is happening on the earth that we need to be paying attention to. And then listening to our own hearts and saying, what is it that we are most concerned about? And then mapping that amongst the young people that are involved in the program. The second part of the process is then moving into what's the world that we want to be part of? What is our vision for the future? And then we imagine that, we dream that up, we draw that, we talk about that, we write about that to make it real. And then our next process is, so how are we going to achieve this vision? And the key is that all of our action is focused on how we are going to achieve the vision. So we shift into that forward-looking movement. And in particular, what is the actions that you're going to take? What is it you can actually see yourself doing? And out of that comes innovative action plans that are completely dreamed up by young people that they implement. And in that process, they discover their own leadership capabilities. And I'm just wondering, Ruby, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering if you would like to talk about a couple of these action plans. And I'm thinking, you know, there's a couple of photos here, the Festival of Our Future and the Sydney Youth Climate Action Network, and your own story, Ruby. I'd love you to tell your own story.
Yeah, well, I think you should probably talk about these action plans because I wasn't involved in them.
Oh, okay. Well, let me do that briefly and then I'll pass over for you. So I wanted to give you a sample of just what some of the things are that young people have done. So the top photo is a bunch of young people in Bellingen who were really concerned about our Bellinger River and interestingly about our turtles in the Bellinger River. And they decided the best way to influence their community was to organise a community festival. So they called the Festival for Our Future. And it was a completely youth organised and youth run program. And we thought that maybe 50 people would come along, you know, our friends and families. But on the day, over 500 people came. And, you know, the road was blocked on the way in. And these young people just did an amazing job of telling their story and calling people to action and were deeply influential of our community. The group in the bottom photo is a bunch of young people who were really concerned about climate change, and they decided that what they would do is set up an online group. They felt really isolated in their schools, and they set up an online group they called the Sydney Youth Climate Action Network. And they also connected locally and organised a youth festival. But one of their favourite things to do was to go to any community event that was on, and they'd paint themselves green and they'd get people to measure their footprint, and then they'd challenge them to go, how are you going to cut back? How are you going to reduce to one planet living? All right, Ruby, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pass over to you.
Sure. So just to talk about my experience, because I first got involved with Youth Leading the World when I was 13, so when I was a young person in high school. Essentially for me, I was just filled with emotions and concerns and fears constantly in high school. I grew up next to the ocean and pollution was an issue. Coal mining was something that became apparent to me, and I was just, I don't know how to describe a flood. I think that everyone here has felt this before, just a flooding of overwhelm. And for me, when I found Youth Leading the World, it was an opportunity for me to not only actually like share what I was feeling, but also to connect with other people who felt the same way and to feel a solidarity in that, which I think is really important when you're hyper aware and concerned about your world as a young person, because it can be really daunting and really disheartening when you don't have the right support network, I think, especially for everyone, but especially for when you're young. So yeah, I was 13. I went to my first Youth Leading the World Congress. The 3 days were excellent. I learned a lot and I made some great connections that have obviously lasted 10 years later. And for me, I suppose what I came out of the 3 days with was that I wanted to be a facilitator. That was my action, I suppose. I didn't have one particular issue that I wanted to focus on. It was more that this was like a calling. I liked youth engagement. I wanted to keep talking about these issues with other people. So I think I went to one more Congress the year later, and then I trained as a facilitator at probably 15, and began assisting Sue with other youth congresses. And aside from the learning that I got from it about the environment and from other people's experiences, I also just gained such a strong sense of self and of confidence, something I definitely didn't have when I was a teenager, which again, very normal for when you're young. In 2013, I think, when I was 16, Sue just said to me, "Do you mind giving a little speech?" And I said, "Sure." And then she ended up putting me out in front of, how many people were there? I don't know.
700.
700 people to do a TEDx talk. So you can look online at that, but I did not know what that was before. So I think what I'm trying to emphasize is that with Youth Leading the World, there's not just a sense of community, it's also challenging ourselves and pushing ourselves for personal development as well. So I was able to find, I guess, meaning in all the chaos and the concern that was in my head, and be able to focus that somewhere specifically with this this community that we've created right here as well, as a support network. So yeah, I'm trying to think of, that's, if there's any questions, feel free to ask me, but yeah.
Hey Ruby, can you just put your name in the chat box too, so everyone can search for your TEDx talk, because it's great.
Sure thing.
All right. So I just wanted to go back to say, so what we're proposing is to run a program in partnership with CCC, and we are so excited about this, that will focus mostly on the Pacific region, but we do understand that there's a lovely contingent from Africa, and the time of day we're talking about doing the program is the middle of your night. But for now, I think we just want to, what questions have you got? What would you like to know? And, how can we help you? And I believe, Jennifer, you were going to help do this.
Yes, and I would just welcome both questions in the chat, and also if, I think we're all on one of my pages right now. Oh, let me put my video on. So if you have, you can raise your hand if you have a question about the program. I think, Sue, I think it is around, not quite in the middle of the night, Africa time. I think it's more around 10 p.m., 11 p.m., which is maybe these young people are just waking up. I mean, who knows? So I will look at the chat. Yes, go ahead.
It's exactly 10:22. No, I just want to do a correction on the time. Yeah, question.
You want a clarification on the time?
Yeah. The time here in Sierra Leone is 10:22.
Okay, so it would start
at 10.
I believe it would start at 10 p.m. your time and run for 3 hours. Is that right, Sue? It's a 3 hour.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, 3.5.
And it only lasts for 3 days, so you can catch up on sleep later.
All right, that's good.
And
I think, it's just impossible to get a time that works for everyone when you're working as a global community. And what we do is we tend to swap the time zones around. So we've just run a program that had a focus on the Africa, Middle East and Europe time zone. And instead, we had people from the US getting up in the middle of the night.
Can you put the link to the program itself, to the registration for the program, et cetera, into the chat?
And also what I will do is, I don't know, Sue, I would be happy to put the 3-page um, program outline that you had sent us. I will be happy to put that as a file in the chat as well, which really does a wonderful job. It looks like this. It does a wonderful job of outlining page after 3 pages of what the program is and what how people get involved and all that. So I will put that in the chat as a file that you can all download onto your computer. And if anyone has any trouble with that, please reach out to either me or Michelle, and we can send it to you via email.
So I've put up the link for the facilitator training. Oh no, actually I've put up the link for the Congress. Let me now put up the link for the facilitator training while I do that as well.
Really, there is something I want to inquire from, and I want to get understanding on that. Can I go?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have listened to some of the speakers, and I get to understand that they have been doing this particular program before this time. And when it talks about Sierra Leone, I don't think if we have engaged on it before this time. I think this is the very first time of having shared programs staying in this particular link. So I want to know, how it's gonna be in Sierra Leone, how it's gonna be implemented. Like for some countries, they are far ahead. They have gone, they have done something concerning the program, and we have not done anything. So what is that? Is it that we have to start like how they have started it? If yes, then how? I just want to know how the process will be like starting it in Sierra Leone.
Good question. So there's before COVID and in COVID. So before COVID, we would train local people and they would get young people together in their region and work with them in their own region to run the 3-day training and then continue to work with them in a mentoring role. Because that physical coming together is not possible in many places right now, we have shifted to working online. And I'm really excited by the outcomes of our first completely online program in July. We're seeing the young people involved in that go ahead and do all of the actions that they set themselves up to do. And what we did is we ran it as a global program. So we had people participating from all over the world in that Congress. If you are able to meet physically with young people in your region, once you've trained as a facilitator, you could actually run that Congress in your region. And we call it a Congress because it is a highly participatory program. It means people are actively involved in talking together and thinking and planning and connecting and listening deeply and questioning strategically.
All right, thank you.
Alpha, is that enough for you? And I also would like to say that there is quite a few facilitators in the African region as well. And one of the things I'd like to do, Stephanie, is to organise a meeting, a coming together of the people in Africa involved in Youth Leading the World already and your team, because I think we might be able to dream something up together.
All right, all right. That is good. That is good. I appreciate it.
So
I think
go ahead, Alpha.
No, it's just go ahead. I think I've ended my speech.
So if I could give maybe a little bit of a summary of what I'm gathering that the youth would receive is that they receive through the Congress experience the encouragement, the support, and also the interactions that allow them to be inspired and to be courageous and to have that confidence that Ruby talked about, that she developed through the solidarity, through being in community and receiving the feedback and the support that we all need in order to step forward into our vision. Would you say that was accurate, Sue?
I'm going to add to that, Stephanie, and thank you so much for your pulling the thoughts together. I think that there are three things that are really, really important in this. One is that we are informed about what's happening in the world, and we're hearing from each other and we're learning from each other about the challenges that we face. The second is that each young person involved comes up with their own ideas. You know, we've heard a lot of people saying, this is what my heart is telling me to do. The process that we run holds a space where we listen deeply to each other and we listen deeply to the earth. And out of that space, young people discover what it is that they want to do in this time. And then the third thing I think that is really significant is this: as they implement that plan, as they actually do it, they're connected with other young people all over the world who are doing the same. And we are literally weaving a new web, a new interconnected, you know, when you talked about the, you know, the download that you received, you know, for me, the image that came to me with this program was a picture of the world with a mesh of interconnected points of light. And each one of those points of light was a node that was deeply involved in caring for the earth in their region, but was also a place where we would hear firsthand about what was happening, what were the challenges in that region, so that we were, you know, in touch with each other.
Beautiful, beautiful. That detail, I feel, is super important for people to understand the quality and nature of this leadership training. And an extraordinary opportunity, I would say, as someone who has stumbled into her leadership.
And Stephanie, can I also add, the thing that I see as our gift is that we've been doing this for 30 years and we know it works, and we have worked with cultures and people and communities all over the world, and we know it works. And the reason it works is that we are not imposing our ideas. We are creating a space where the earth speaks and where we listen to each other and we listen to our own hearts. And so that is what we come up with.
It's gorgeous. And I think it's gorgeous as an opportunity for young people, one I wished I would have had. And I think it's also gorgeous for those of us who want to facilitate that empowerment for young people. Beautiful, exquisite design, Sue.
Can I just take a moment, because I wanted to just say something to Auntie Carly, because when I was living in Tabulum during the 1970s and 1980s and working at Benalbo Central School, there was an absolutely wonderful Gidabal woman who became my best friend and showed me a whole new way of being in the world. And I just want to, you know, share my love for Christine Charles and the huge influence that she had on me to this day, and what gratitude I have for her.
Yeah, Christine's a beautiful person, and she's a cousin of ours, not far from here. And
Oh, really?
we get
I've
together.
lost touch with her. I so would love to reconnect.
Yeah, we'll find her. We'll find her, sister.
Ah.
Yeah. I'll get her to come to Peace Valley so she can meet Joy, and then we'll hook up. Yeah. Charles's is another big family. in this area. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I know so many wonderful young people from the Close family. I'm thinking of Ruby and Derek Close.
Yeah.
They were young people. They won't be young people anymore, but they were some of the young people that we had the privilege to be teachers of.
The Amos and Alice are Closes, and they're descendants of Uncle Amos Close. Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. All right.
Sue, just to quickly talk about, someone asked about the age range as well. So I just
Yes.
said sort of 8 to 25 because we've done it with such a huge range of age groups. The program is structured to ask questions, like just to reiterate what Sue's already said, to ask questions and to pose critical thinking topics. So there's no particular, the age range is so broad because the content and what we talk about is dependent on the participants' concerns and their feelings and what they want to talk about. So it can be someone as young as 8 years old because we can say, what are you most concerned about? And you'd be like, so we're constantly surprised with what they come up with. And then we say, what do you want to do about that? And these insane ideas come about. So so it is really broad because the program is structured and tailored to the participants. Yeah.
Nesindano, did you want to say something?
Yes, two things. Perhaps I'll start with what Ruby just ended. Is it then and perhaps maybe you can speak from a personal perspective, is it more than relevant to find that personal connection as you work with the youth, or for them to kind of be like, this is urgent issue, what do you find works very well, having an immediate personal approach, or kind of having this urgent idea of a more collective approach? And then the second thing was I wanted to ask about generational intersectionality with a lot of with these projects, and quite specifically speaking to the African context. I understand that so much of the work that we need to do, there's this collective aim, and we have these visions that I really think speak to all of us, even in these different spaces. But of course, the work itself and the process, is a little bit, of course, it can be different. So how does one, and if you guys can, from whatever experience you've had with Africa, and then also, in your own environments, how does one, as much as it is a youth program, create, that intersectionality to kind of, because there's also this talk of coming back to the elders and what the elders know, but without undermining that the youth are able to contribute. So how important is that generational, that intersection? That's
Ruby, do you mind if I pick this one up?
No, go for it.
We were invited to run a Youth Leading the World program in Cape York, and with Indigenous youth from communities throughout the region, the whole of Cape York. And I did something fairly controversial because the people there wanted the elders to be present from the start. And I said, if the elders are present at the start, the young people will not speak in the same way. What I want you to do is to come in on the third day. And so the young people will have 2 days to find their own feet and to find their own journey through this together. And then the elders come in and we'll start working together from that point in time. And I have to say that was probably one of the most moving experiences of my life, because when the elders came in and the young people presented what they wanted to do, every person in that sitting under the tree, and there would have been 50 or 60 of us, was weeping. We were weeping because there was this profound connection, and the elders said to us, we haven't been able to reach our young people in this way. There's been such a fracturing of our community. And now the plans that they have, these are the things that we want to have happen. These are the things that we are yearning for. And I'll tell you a little story out of it. One of them was that their biggest concern was lack of recognition of First Nations people and traditions. And when we were working out, well, how do we do something about this? The young people decided they wanted to be able to speak out. And and so we asked, well, how can we get you onto the platform of someone else's that's doing the organising? And we got them onto the first national forum being run by the Australian Youth Coalition in 2009. And we had a team of youth come down from Cape York, and they spoke about what it was like to grow up as a First Nations youth in Australia. And they had thousands of young people in tears. And I ran into, you know, I was standing outside talking, and there were some young people from my local region that were there, and they were just hugging each other and crying. And they said, we just did not understand what it was like. And I said, well, let me introduce you. And I introduced the group from Bellingen to the group from Cape York. And I said, you've just experienced the Cape York Youth Action Plan. And they got it.
That's so beautiful. So kind of encouraging and pressing towards the idea of ownership within these stories, within these kind of highlighting the strengths without saying you do this and you do that, kind of just letting them take ownership of it, of the healing and of the process. That's beautiful.
And the other thing that's really important in this is this walking beside. And you know, I have asked young people involved in Youth Leading the World whether, you know, they'd like this to be a completely youth-run initiative. And the answer I get is no, we actually really value having the facilitators, the elders walking beside us as we implement our plans, as we actually put this into action. But the important thing is that they're listening to their own heart. They're listening to the earth.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't know, Ruby, if you'd like to ask that, but at the same time, I want to ask, answer the initial question, if you remember. I don't. And then maybe just then also ask about you know, how so I mean, I work as a poetry facilitator with a lot of high school learners, but I also I'm a performer, and of course a lot of times, you know, a lot of there's this interconnectedness in kind of getting ourselves expressed, and also of course using art. We've seen how that continues to play a role in even our own present lives. Has there been any particularly strong, you know, or very impactful action that has come from this combination of art and the visions that come from?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so our the process, focus, vision, change, action, the vision aspect of it is primarily it's us drawing. So we lay when we're in person, not COVID times. There's a big long sheet of butcher's paper, and everyone comes together and draws together what they envision for the future, because it's kind of, I don't know if this is what you meant to do, Sue, but I find that it's really hard to actually come up with the words to describe the future you want to see. Whereas drawing it and seeing what other people are drawing, and sometimes you can just write words, or this is how we get the process of visioning started, is through art, really. And then from that we find the words, and we find a story, I suppose, for what the world we want to see looks like. Yeah, and I guess, and a lot of the action plans specifically have been sort of, there's lots of, you know, creating videos or murals. I think I did a video in my school with the students. That was wonderful. Yeah, I think it's a fairly common avenue.
I just put up a vision drawing from one of the young people in the recent program, and the creativity, when we have this youth-run community forum, and it will be a global community forum, the creativity of youth, you know, I see young people developing songs, you know, powerful songs and singing them, or doing performance or art. So your skills in helping to bring that to the fore will be very, very appreciated. You know, the arts are such an important change tool.
I'm very, very excited to use the tool to share it and to find what the youth really have to give themselves as artists and social shakers. So
Ruby, I think in that first Congress you did, there was a bunch of young people that wrote a rap song.
Oh, yeah.
And it was played on local radio for like weeks afterwards. They just kept on playing it on ABC radio. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I don't remember the lyrics at all, but yes, that did happen. And we've definitely made lots of little videos. There was a really nice one I did with some students. They would have been probably 12. They were quite young, and they were concerned about coal seam gas mining. So we made a video. We sort of wrote on. They did little writing things, and I filmed it for them. And that was played at my school. I think still today it's played for the group. Yeah, Jetty still plays it, which is sweet.
I'm just wondering if we want to mention again the dates, or put it in. I can put it in the chat for the facility. Which I'm looking at my calendar as you are too, probably, Sue.
I'm just going to put this up. So there are the dates.
Perfect. Yes.
And I've put the link to the registration for both the facilitator training and the Congress in the chat box. And I guess we can send it out via email and on Facebook afterwards. The price of the program is zero cost through to $500, depending on what you can afford. And that's for the facilitator training. And the dates are Australian, Sydney time dates. And so it's a day earlier. I think if it's in the US, we're talking about the 25th, 26th and 27th of September. And 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. each day on those days, Australian time.
Which would be 6 to 9 Eastern, 3 to 6 Pacific, and I think African time, I think we said it would be, is it 9 to
10?
Contrary to popular belief, the African countries all have their separate time. So I realized I was also an hour ahead of.
Yes.
Of was it Osmana or But so it's basically 11 p.m.
Okay, I was thinking Western Africa, which is Senegal and Mauritania. Yes, and yes, exactly. So we can certainly send that information with the time, and gosh, what else, Michelle?
Well, I just want to mention that Sue put up the possibility of an Africa-specific program that we'll have some conversation about that might be more time-friendly for the various African countries involved as a possibility. There are other youth leading the world representatives in Africa, and so perhaps we could join forces and make something more friendly to the African time frame.
And that may mean that we do that and then come together at the international, the global forum in October and touch base then. So let's see. We have a lovely growing group of people in the Middle East and Europe as well, and that would be the time zone that we do. The only thing, Stephanie, is that we would miss the magic of this moment of the interconnectedness of the CCC community. And, I'm sorry the burden of getting up in the middle of the night rests with the African contingent, but we would certainly love to have you all involved because it is a family.
Certainly, if you can manage that later time for those 3 days, that would probably just be easier structurally to making it happen. But I don't want people to be dissuaded or discouraged or give up because the time is so onerous. So I just wanted to throw in that potential.
It is over a weekend, in like case that helps.
It's staying up late for important things is not a challenge, and I mean it would mean that they end around 4 a.m., which is a great time to go out and do some meditation or just look at stars, and where I am, the Milky Way is there, so it's perfectly fine. It's we've yeah. Let's just get it done. Yeah.
Okay, well, sure, Jamie?
So I'm taking all this in and I'm thinking about the language issue, and you're working with a global community. Is everything always in English? Have you had any instances of translating, or do you have anything to say around that? I'm thinking specifically about the Kuntanawas don't speak English.
So, really good question. We have a particularly strong relationship with Central America and have an amazing group in both El Salvador and Guatemala, and also Colombia, who've been actively involved for nearly 10 years now. And they have translated both into local language as well as Spanish, and run the program in Spanish. And it's interesting because we're having this conversation with a group in Europe at present, and one of the things that the Swedish people are saying, is maybe we will do something in Swedish locally first, and then we'll connect in with you once we've run something in local language, so that the young people have confidence. It's because we work internationally, I'm acutely aware of the challenges of working across multiple languages, and acutely aware of my very poor Hindi speaking skills and Spanish speaking skills that I have gained over the years. Thank you for raising that.
Well, that's awesome that it's already been done in Spanish, at least. They speak Portuguese there, but Spanish is a pretty similar language.
Bissy, did you have a question?
I'm assuming that you're fluent, that you would be able to do that translation yourself?
Yes. I am pretty
excellent.
fluent. I'm not a native Portuguese speaker, but I'm pretty fluent.
Good.
I just wanted to come in from the point where Sue was saying walking alongside. I really love that phenomenon. As an elderly, it is maybe really a good time to lead, not to lead, but to walk alongside. and also taking 2 days for them to explore, and then we come in. And I was just wondering from your point, for us as the elderly, I need guidance also a little bit, so that, like you are training them, we need to be trained to also enable ourselves to become the walkers alongside.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love your
Yeah.
question. And that's the point of the facilitator training. So that program of training is to give adults and young people the skills, the tools to be able to support young people to come up with their own strategy and then walk beside them as they implement it.
Yeah, we in Nesindano has we have this opportunity in the land, but this would be, I'm really feeling that having the young people in the state where they are currently, I just feel that Mother Earth, in this process that I'm sitting, I am saying, why was it? And Stephanie said, and also Ruby, why am I here? The state where our young people in our land currently
I missed that last bit that you said. Just right at the moment when you said, and this is what it means, and then I couldn't hear you anymore. Can you speak again, Miss Alela?
Perhaps if some people close their video, we could hear her better. Try now, Visi, with the videos off. Try again.
Oh, we've lost her.
Yeah, I'm afraid we have.
Perhaps if we can get her to write that for us, and we can respond on the Facebook page.
And as many have, she may rejoin. Many have been cutting out and rejoining, so we will see. But she certainly, we know in our hearts what her meaning was and what her words meant.
Okay, well, if there are there any more questions, I'm going to pass back over to, oh, here we go. Here's Visa.
Visi, could you repeat what you said? Because we lost some of it.
Visi, you're on mute.
Yeah, what what I was saying is, for us as the elders to be the walkers alongside, of course, Sue said that we can be trained, but I think what I'm saying is, the moment I was asking to myself, why am I here this time and moment, which is almost, it has crossed midnight. It is 1 o'clock in my country at the moment. And I am finding that what Stephanie said and Ruby about speaking from our hearts, that our young people, where they are at the moment, is that they need guidance. And the only way this guidance can be given in our case is to connect them back to Mother Earth. and bringing in Nezindano with her art and music and poetry, and us, the elders, that can be guided through your training to guide them, is the moment of providing them two things at the same time, to give them the skill of feeling their hearts, but also to give them the skill to lead. I looked at your program and I see you said youth lead, but it's like you lead. When you put it up, it's you lead. And so when I am walking beside, I'm just saying, I walk beside you, you lead. And for me, that second thing that I think is also for me to be enabled to transfer to the next generation and slowly to step back. So that's what I'm picking up. And the moment of our young people in the country, this is the first going to be ever program. We don't have so much programs for the young people that is linking them to Mother Earth and to their heart. And I really would love her to participate. There is another young man. We really want such a program. We need it. And I want to I know that Michelle is very hands-on, that we can start off after the training, that we can start in the country here, because it's a good time when we are locked down, that we can use their energy in small groups to train them, and the leader, the facilitators to train them.
Sorry, if I may just add to what Mama was saying. I think the intersectionality is also so relevant because there needs to be a space also where elders maybe have the opportunity to identify or to show youth their possibility, you know, in that sense. And I think it's less of the typical way of guiding that we know where there's I know the right and from the wrong, but also to say that I really believe in you. You know, do go ahead and do what you can. But here is also my experience and my love for this world and what I've learned in identifying, you know, what the capabilities are for youth. And so I think it's so important to continue to create, you know, that platform. I think it's so important to say that you walk beside me, but that there is still that there's so much to share, and that the youth can also, of course, teach the elders, you know, many things. Yeah.
No, you raised or brought to mind for me, you know, one of the things that I see is the most important work that we do, and that is creating a sense of possibility. Because we have so many stories, because we have seen this work, the process works. And we have seen it work over 30 years. So I have deep faith in that. And it's this that I would share with you. And for me, it was understanding that we can teach other people this process and they can use it as effectively and often more effectively than we do.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you. I think really I'm thrilled, and I'm having hope. I was wondering what to do with these young people, and I think now I'm looking forward.
Yay!
Nezindano was going to. I'm in between lobbying her to help Stephanie hear her voice more. So I was asking her, when we close to do us a poem or something. I don't know what's going to come out from her there. But I was saying, can you just come into your inner soul and give us something when we are almost closing? So I don't know. Are you there? If you've picked up something? Yeah.
And it's about time to wrap up, and someone might want to wrap up. This could be the way of sharing gratitude for our initial gathering. If everyone could turn their videos back on, maybe we could all look into each other's eyes one more time. Also, to see the group that's left here, it's not asleep yet. And hello to all those who'll be watching the recording also, who are interested, who will get excited.
And I want to remind those of you who can stay on a little bit longer and make this statement that is now filling our hearts. I am a voice for our living earth. That we welcome you, if you don't mind, just staying with us a little bit after the call ends, and each one taking a moment to just say that, heart and eyes wide open. I am a voice for our living earth. We're collecting this into a collage that says this to the world as the theme, the mantra of climate change and consciousness. And I do want to say how fulfilled, again, I feel even more fulfilled than I felt at the beginning to hear Vissy's comments, to let Vissy and her daughter know, I am so aligned with you. I am a poet. My previous work before I got this column of download, before I became a neuroscientist, was a poet, and I'm still a poet, but I worked with youth. That was my mission. I taught poetry in the schools, and we published our writing, and we gave poetry readings, and it was glorious, and I would do it at the drop of the hat again. So I really encourage this spirit of the arts as activism. And I am so grateful to Sue Lennox. I feel she is a gift to me personally, to hear her articulate her vision so clearly. I really feel at her feet in gratitude for the modeling she's giving me and for the gift that she is giving all of us of hope, as Vissy said, because our youth are killing themselves. That's what's happening. Our youth are killing themselves in record numbers, in a sense of despair and hopelessness because of our failures. And those of us who have that grief in our hearts and who are ready to remedy it with alchemizing that grief into transmitting possibility, potential, resilience, and confidence to speak out to our youth. What more could we possibly do as a voice for our living earth? So again, reminder, if you can stay on and just let us hear you say and see you say, I am a voice for our living earth after we conclude. Everyone is welcome to do that.